Hey guys, what's up? My name's Chopper, and welcome everybody to the video today. What I've got for you guys is going to be 10 pro tips to help you get even better in PUBG. Now, the skill of the average player recently has gone up quite drastically in PUBG compared to last time I made a video like this, so today I have 10 more pro tips that are going to help you stay ahead of the curve. If you follow all of these, you should see your gameplay improve dramatically over time, and so I really hope these do help, as this is some of the best advice that I can give you as players. Now, and all I ask in return is for you guys to drop a like on the video. Last video, we went for 1,000 likes in 24 hours, and you demolished it, getting over 2,000 likes in 24 hours. So today we're going to raise the bar, guys. If we could get 2,000 likes in 24 hours on this one, I would appreciate that so much. And if you are brand new to the channel and you haven't already subscribed, we are only less than 15,000 away from getting 250,000 subscribers, and I have something very special lined up for you guys, and I can't wait for you to see it. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, enjoy the video, and let's get into these 10 pro tips to help you get better at this game. So coming in today at the number 10 spot, guys, is going to be one of the most basic and fundamental things that you can start practicing right now that all in all is going to improve your gameplay. And this is going to be your crosshair placement. This is when it comes to looting, when it comes to just regular gunfighting, walking around, whatever you're doing, you should always have your crosshairs placed somewhere around where you could instantly fight an enemy. For example, a really good way to practice your crosshair placement is to do something so like benign as looting, right? You want to keep, even while you're doing this, your crosshairs up at all times to where if there was an enemy in some unexpected place, you'd be prepared and you'd be ready to take that on. I see a lot of people when they loot, they throw their crosshairs all the way up and down the room to either look at different windows or look down at their items. This is like the incorrect way to go about it, because if somebody does happen to come up on you, then you might miss that very crucial time that you need to line up a shot on somebody if you do happen to be rolled up on unexpectedly. Of course, it goes way beyond just regular looting as well. You want to have your crosshairs up pretty much at all times, generally speaking, even when you're fighting or when you don't know if anybody's around. It's just something that's a really good thing to get in the habit of practicing, and it should significantly improve your gameplay if you're indeed doing it right. Honestly, if you still find yourself struggling with something like crosshair placement, a game like Counter-Strike is a great way to practice, because that's pretty much all it is. You'll learn the fundamentals of that pretty quickly, and then you can go ahead and apply that to PUBG. So coming in today at the number 9 spot is understanding the weapon meta and how it changes over time. This is something that a lot of like newer players that maybe played in the past but are trying to get back into the game often struggle with, because they don't know exactly what weapons are now in. You know what I mean? They don't know what weapons are good nowadays or what's been nerfed and things like that. Maybe you don't know how exactly some weapons are best played, and there is an easy solution to this, although it does require a little bit of time. A good way to get back into the weapon meta if you don't really understand it is to honestly just sit back and watch players who are better than you and watch the decisions they make with their weapons. Not all of the opinions that you get about different weapons from other people are going to agree, but what you can do by yourself is extract out the best tips that come from each of these people and then decide on what weapon choices are going to work best for you, and you have a good understanding of why people make the decisions they make about their weapons so you can better play against it. But yeah, having a good understanding of all of the weapons, their balance, and their behaviors is a really good way to increase your knowledge at this game, and overall, at the end of the day, will make you a better player. Coming in at the number 8 spot, guys, is going to be parachuting and landing as quickly as possible. Now, the thing about this is that it differs between each platform, and it's also changed so many times that I don't know if really anybody knows the exact fastest way to get on the ground right now, but ever since they got rid of like the wave dive or the S dive, whatever you like to call it, they did away with that in a couple updates ago, and since that's gone, the way that I like to land now is typically I mark my destination around 800, 900 meters away, and then I jump really, really early on and fall about 180 the whole way down, and it seems to work for the most part, as I'm normally the first one to land, or at least one of the first, and so I think I have something good going on here, but I don't know if anybody knows the exact mathematical way fastest to get on the ground. So I guess the tip that I'm going to tell you for landing is jump early and don't fall straight down. You should maybe get like a medium amount of speed, and then you might be the first one to make it there. I'm going to continue to research and figure out what the fastest way to get on the ground is, but yeah, it's something that you should definitely play around with at the moment. Now, taking the number 7 spot, guys, is healing inside of your car while driving. Now, normally this is really effective in solo, in co-op not so much because somebody else can drive for you, but while you're playing by yourself, there is a way you can swap seats to your passenger and then heal and then quickly go back to your driver's seat, and this is really, really effective if you're outrunning the zone and you're a little bit behind, you need to get heals in, and you don't want to have have to stop as you might be in danger. You can heal from the car if you're good enough to do it right. Now, it can be a little tricky sometimes because clearly you have no control over the vehicle from that point, and if you hit any bumps in the road, it might cancel your effect, so you need to be on like a relatively straight road to do this, and your car's got to remain pretty steady as well. But this trick can be so effective if you need to drive your car, you need to pop a quick heal off, either a bandage or an energy drink. These work really well because they have super fast casting times, and you get right back in your driver's seat and continue going on. And another thing I think is worth knowing about this is that it works in some vehicles better than others. Like trucks, UAZs, and Dacias seem to work the best. Buggies are a little hit or miss, and then motorcycles are really hard to pull this off on. So I guess like the more steady your vehicle can roll, and I guess more stable it is, the better likely you can get this heal off. And you can do this multiple times while you're driving. You just can pick back up more speed and then get another heal off. And it's a great way to cover a lot of ground while also getting your health back up, which is hard to do. Moving on and coming in at the number 6 spot, guys, is going to be locking down airdrops. And this has changed quite a bit since the average skill of players has gone up a lot, and everybody's so much better at securing their own drops. The way to do this now is you have to be extra cautious. Generally speaking now, since everybody's so much better at watching over them and picking people off who are too eager for the drop, it's pretty dangerous to go for them now if you're not like on it automatically as soon as it touches the ground. If it's a highly contested drop, which a lot of them are nowadays, and it's a highly competitive one where a lot of people are watching it and just waiting for the right moment, if you really want to get it, I recommend you have to drop at least 1 or 2 smokes around it, and you're going to need a vehicle to push up and then snag the loot as quickly as possible. It's so much harder securing drops nowadays than it used to be, I'd say like 6 months ago, and so the way that you go about it has to change a lot as well. Taking the number 5 spot, I think, is something that pretty much every single player struggles with from time to time, and you can catch yourself doing it because it's sort of a hard habit to break, and it's very easy to fall into, and this is overlooting. This happens to almost everybody. The idea here is that you don't ever really go out and to try to secure a power position or go out and fight other players until you have like a fully loaded inventory, which is sort of backwards when you think about it, because you should be getting more stocked inventory as you pick up more kills, you know what I mean? Finish up your attachments on your guns, get as much meds and ammo as you need, that sort of thing. But realistically, once you have 1 or 2 weapons, you have a good amount of ammo and a decent amount of meds, you don't need to worry about attachments until you start really killing other players, and you can go out and avoid that early game like kind of random deaths. If you find yourself dying a lot in the early game, chances are you might be overlooting and not realizing it. So what you could try doing in the future is just getting exactly what you need to survive and then letting other players bring the rest of the loot to you. It's definitely something to think about and be cautious of. When it comes to things like equipment, I like to have like 1 or 2 of each grenade if possible. Frags and smokes being the most important of all of these, so I definitely prioritize those, but having a good healthy assortment of those is always good as well. Coming in at the number 4 spot is using your flare gun correctly and then also securing the rewards that it gives you. A lot of players in the past have just not been using their flare guns right, and I see this all the time in public games, and they tried to make it a little bit more clear and straightforward about how to actually get the rewards from it, but I still think some people are confused, and not only that, but they're also not very good at covering their own drop. The way to get better at this, as far as I can tell, is be patient with your flare gun. Use it at the proper moment, because I assume you want the weapon. Nobody really wants the armored UAZ. If you do, then that one's pretty easy to secure, but securing the weapons is a bit more tricky because if you put a huge target on yourself, and you're also, not to mention, automatically in the safe zone by default. The best way to secure your airdrop reward is fire the flare somewhere around like 100 meters from your compound if you're defending it, or a hill if you're guarding that one as well, and have it in an area that's kind of hard to navigate, to be honest, because this will discourage other enemy players from going after your drop. Since flare guns are literally like the rarest item in the game, it's important that you use it correctly so that the rewards that come with it don't get yoinked from you. Finally, getting into our top 3 here, lads, coming in at the number 3 spot is getting good at the bunny hop. Now, this can be done on literally whatever platform you play on, whatever perspective you like as well, and it's just as effective in all of these. The bunny hop is basically a movement mechanic feature that is part of the jump, but it allows you to maintain the speed of like sort of running and jumping, but without breaking the animation, and you can reload and do all kinds of things while bunny hopping. And thankfully, at least in this game, it's pretty easy to do also. You just need to time your jumps so that you jump again as soon as your feet touch the ground from your original jump. And you can chain these together, you can put as many as you like. As long as you get the timing correct, you can look behind you as you're moving, you can reload, you can do all sorts of things. And I think it's super important is if you want to be a good player in this game to nail this down as a movement feature. It does require a little bit of practice, so if you're struggling with it, maybe just take like an hour or so just to try to learn the bunny hop and then like use it and working on applying it in game, and then eventually it'll just become normal muscle memory and you'll be fully used to it. All right, now coming in at the number 2 spot is going to be your map positioning. Now in the past, the rule of thumb has been that moving into the zone, you normally want to be on the thinnest side of it so the zone moves slower and you have more time to basically make a decision, right? That was the golden rule that most players used playing this game, but since it's changed so much, I don't think that's the golden rule anymore. Normally, the way that I like to play now is I like to play the center of the safe zone, either compound to compound or taking hills and defending them. Because everybody got so much sweatier, it seems like that old rule doesn't really work anymore, and it's an easy way to die. So I generally try to play a little bit, more center than I otherwise would, and either play with compounds or just using hills. At the end of the day, this is going to come down to a lot of personal preference and stuff and the way that you like to play typically in this game, but at least what I would tell you, that if you are concerned about winning and maybe picking up a reasonable amount of kills, playing the center of the zone for the most part, or at least being in and not hanging around too much, either playing and defending different compounds or taking hills and ridges is a really good way, I think, and it's a surefire strategy, at least to do somewhat decent in this game. Now, before we unveil the number 1 spot today, I'd like to give an honorable mention to a tip that I think is just very good game knowledge and is something that is extremely useful to know. And this is the fact that in general, the right peek is way more effective than the left peek, because when you're leaning left, you expose a lot more of your body than when you're leaning right. You can go in game and test this for yourself. It's a slight advantage, but it definitely does count. Oftentimes, you'll see a lot of good players put themselves in positions where they don't have to lean left if they can set it up for them to be on their right. It's just something to think about and keep in mind, but it is absolutely an advantage. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, coming in at the number 1 spot, the biggest pro tip that I can give you right now is hitting the lads with the seat swap drive-bys. Now, if you've paid attention to my gameplays recently in my videos, I've been doing this quite a lot, and it's something that does require a good bit of skill to do, and it's hard to master. However, the only thing that I'm scared of putting this as a pro tip is when everybody becomes a god at seat swapping and doing these drive-bys in vehicles, then PUBG is going to be all about the meta of just having a vehicle. It's going to be like the old days, just in a different way. It's sort of like the same concept for seat swapping as like healing in vehicles. You can do 2 actions at once that really aren't supposed to go together. You can shoot while still covering a lot of ground, and that's pretty overpowered if you can pull it off, and it's definitely a very effective strategy to use at the end of the day as well, no matter what you think about it. But anyways, guys, that is going to be the video for today. The top 10 pro tips that I can give you to get better at this game, stay ahead of the curve as players are just improving overall. And I know that I'm not helping the case by making this video, but for those of you who take your time out of the day to watch this, then you'll have some knowledge that most players don't. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, rating, subscribe if you are brand new, of course, and I'll see you all on the next live stream or the next video. Make sure you go check out my second channel, links in the description down below, and I'll see you all on the next one. Have a good one, guys, and peace out.